What's the best way to cook a steak? What's it like to start a business during the pandemic? What's the deal with keto? Hi, I'm Dave, and along with my partners from FourFathersFoodCo, we'll host a podcast called Kitchen Mix. We'll chat about the topics related to food, small business, nutrition, and many others. At the end of each episode, we'll share a delicious recipe and a cool DJ set. Welcome to the Kitchen Mix podcast, episode number 11. I'm your host and one of the partners of FourFathersFoodCo, Dave. Along with me tonight is, is the rest of the Fourfathers crew. We have Chef Dino.
How you doing, everyone?
John.
What up?
And Nelson.
Hey, guys.
Boys, it's been a while since our last podcast. The last one, I believe we did with celebrity chef Jennifer Baglioni, a cooking matchup between Chef Dino and Jennifer at your house, Nelson. It's kind of cool. So I mean, it was a great opportunity to have that happen, and we obviously going to have more of those. Typically, we have guests on our shows, and we talk about from other brands that we admire. We want to get to know more of them, so we'd like to have them as guests. But today, it's us Fourfathers. That's us in the flesh today. We're gonna have we got some great stuff to talk about. Lots has happened in our business growth, and wanted to share this exciting news to you guys, to everybody out there. You all have been a huge part in building our brand, and I'm very grateful for this. So let's get to this, shall we? Behind Fourfathers and our brand, we are actually four fathers that have connected by friendship and a common love for food, because we all love food, okay? And for those who don't know us, I mean, that do know us, that don't know us, we actually came together to build this business. And it did start with our chef and one of our partners, Chef Dino, who's been creating and selling these sauces in your restaurant for years.
Yeah, quite a while.
13 years?
Yeah, just about, yeah.
Jeez. And we didn't know about this. I mean, the odd time we'd go there to his restaurant and be like, he had the little small jars with Dino's mug on the label, and
that's why it sold so well.
So it was awesome. And then fast forward, we're fascinated by my mother's red pepper jelly, and we did a little cooking episode.
Yeah, we made her teach us the recipe.
It was awesome, and
with Wilkes, which he added no value in the kitchen.
It's all about.
He loved it. He was funny.
He loved it. Your mom was like, "Why does this guy keep going around?
Why is he breathing on my neck? Why is he breathing on my neck?"
And she's like, we're using like the hand processor, right? Like the hand mill.
Yeah.
And she's telling me to do stuff, and I'm like trying to do it well and get some like affirmation from her. And Wilkes is just like,
where's the food?
Joking around, funny angles in the camera.
Oh yeah, that was fun, and that's what we started to film it. And we thought this is awesome. We should get into it and see if we can market this, right? And then at that same time, we're at my wife's 50th party, and John, you brought over some sauces from Dino's restaurant, and we're eating this thing, and we're like, what the fuck? What is this stuff? This is amazing. It's delicious. Yeah. And sure enough, we chatted about, you chatted about us saying, hey, listen, my brother wanted to get into marketing this, to sell it, at a higher level. And then Nelson's like, we were talking about that with Dave and his mother's sauce, let's all get together and let's have this meeting. So we got together. And, obviously we started talking about how we can get into business and the whole direction of it, with some glasses of wine and then a few more glasses of wine. and then here we are. We started the company and we decided, let's just do it. Okay. And we wanted to introduce a mild to hot, but full flavored hot sauce. And that's what you wanted it to come up with.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Tell us a bit about the sauces there.
Yeah, well, the whole idea behind it was just to enhance flavors, right? To allow people to be creative at home and not be afraid of adding flavors and a little heat to their meals if they enjoyed the heat as well. Right. So they're not crazy stupid heat where people can't handle, but there's different levels of heat that that are offered in our lineup. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was all about again, the enhancing flavors and
Well, we have the versatility of it, right? So
Absolutely,
that's what's really good about this is that it's used as a topping.
Yep.
You know, you wanted to make sure that we could use as a top. We can cook with it. We can marinate with it.
Yep.
Right. Not just pour it on and improve the flavor. Right.
But I think especially as they've evolved, right?
Right.
Like I think the first sauce that I had was the jalapeno.
Yeah.
Then we tried the cayenne, and they were really chunky. They were very different than what they are today.
Very different. More like an antipasto kind of muffalata kind of
Yeah,
texture.
right.
Where
Right.
it was
Very kind of rustic, and then a bit more kind of pronounced with oil.
Yeah.
We had no idea about the habanero. We tried that at the first time at a meeting.
Yeah.
And then I think, you know, I remember giving you feedback on the cayenne. I'm like, I think there's too much rosemary. Worrying that you're going to smack me upside the head. And then, like, the piri-piri was awesome, right? Like, the piri-piri was literally, I feel bad for you as a pork chop hanging out with 3 Italians.
You know, we're inclusive, right? So we want to be inclusive.
Like, you're lifting all the heavy boxes. But that was hilarious, though, because I take that you know, you brought it literally to the meeting as a bit of a thanks, man, for putting up with us. Yep. And I should have said thanks for putting up with me. But I took it to a family barbecue during that one moment in time where COVID was open for like a week in 2020. Mm-hmm. And my cousins were like, where'd you buy this? I'm like, no, Chef Dino. And they kind of knew that what we were doing. And at that point in time, it was still just more idea than anything. Yeah. And then it was like, I think we have our fourth sauce, right?
Yeah.
Which was kind of interesting how it all kind of, you know, just evolved over time.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And in the process, too, as you guys know, too, we started out that way where it was, you know, an oil-based and a little more chunky, that kind of thing. And when we did decide to take it to production, there was a little bit of a mess up, you know? So needless to say, I wasn't too happy with at the beginning. At the end, you know what? It worked out fantastic, I think, for all of us, right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we can quickly say that, you know, we, as Nelson was talking about the consistency and the texture of our sauce, the muffalata, the texture, we had chunks of the jalapeno, and then we're like, and we had this, then our sauce came back, and we're like, oh my God, we made a mistake.
Yeah.
You know, but it actually turned out as a good mistake.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. It was also a lot easier to absorb it with 4 of us, right? Because I remember that day really well, because I think Piri Piri came off the production line first.
Yeah.
And I'm getting text messages from you, and you're all pumped and showing videos of it. And then Habanero came off, and you're like, oh my God, it looks great. It was literally like we're in the waiting room, right?
Yeah.
Listening to
Having your baby.
For real.
You know,
Giving birth.
Like we're expecting 4 kids to come out.
Yeah.
And the first 2 come out, they're like, oh my, they're beautiful. And then Dino goes silent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, like something's going on. And then we went down to the producer, and I think it was like, this is different than what we expected.
Way different.
And now imagine if that was your own company by yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh my God, we just invested a bunch of money. And I think it's part of the commercialization of stuff and producing it in a bigger...
Right.
As much as it's it's small batch, it's still bigger than your kitchen.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But having the 4 of us, I think it just allowed it to be a little bit more manageable mentally.
Yes.
Because I think that was a Monday. We didn't touch it. We didn't try it until I think Wednesday night here.
Right.
After we poured a glass of wine, which makes everything better. And I was like, actually, the flavor was good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And the texture was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, you know, the whole shock behind it, you know, because, you know, I've been doing it for such a long time, you know, and it's been successful in the restaurant and so on and so forth. You guys, you know, tasting it and everything, and then getting that end product, and just like, I was so disappointed. I think you helped me out the most there, just to kind of accepting it. Okay, listen, let's really sit back and and just see where this goes. Let's, you know, try to understand where, you know, there's the processes are going to be a little bit different, you know, and you know, I'm really happy the way it worked out. So,
but I think, it's a funny process, right? Because I think the only 4 people that knew that there was a screw up was the 4 at this table, really, that were intimate with it. There was only one that was really intimate with it, which was you.
Yeah.
And then the rest of us were like, hey, does it taste good? Yeah. Does it taste different than we expected? No. Is the texture different? Yeah. It actually emulsified everything better.
Yeah.
And the texture was really interesting. It's kind of like become what we're known for, which is this really rich texture.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was a bit of a screw up, but a happy mistake, right?
Yeah,
but like,
absolutely.
if that was me by myself,
Yeah.
I would have made Tracy crazy.
Yeah.
Like walking the dog going, oh my God, like we spent all this money, we screwed up. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Dino, I mean, you know, you've been in the food business probably all your life,
Pretty much. Yep.
you know, and, you know, for everybody that do not know Dino and do know Dino, I mean, like, you know, there's always We always have a great story about us, and just I like to just share a couple minutes, just talk about you, your story, your background.
Yeah. I've been in this business pretty much my whole life. It's almost 40 years now. A lot of family in the business, and that's where I kind of got my start. And it's just passion. I am absolutely so passionate about this. And again, going back to the sauces, why I was at first a little disappointed with what it was is because you have an idea of how things should be and everything, and how things should taste and texture, because I'm very much a texture person too. So I love creating. I love making different things, putting things together that maybe don't really, people don't have idea, but
Right.
To do. But it just worked out really well. Again, my went into business on my own first time. Pronto Cafe and Eatery, just a little shout out there too. But yeah, and I've been there 15 plus years now. So
Just don't smash my table, Brian.
Yeah.
I can't just
Sorry. But it's been a fantastic ride for me. So
Good.
yeah, over the years.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and your brother John, you guys, you love cooking. You're a chef. We have a chef in our business that really helps out the whole aspect of creation. And plus, when we do go for the meetings at your restaurant, we're always fed, which is great. So it's a benefit. It's a joy having that, because if we didn't have that type of chef and we're just creating stuff on our own, it'd be kind of difficult. It's like, okay, we all give our input, which is great, but we have someone who's started, who did the baseline of it and did all the grunt and dirty work of it, and that's what's good about that too as well. Besides the great food, it's a joy having that in a business.
But I think Dino was also really open-minded when we were going through the process of refining the flavors.
Yeah.
You could have been like, no, this is how it is. But it's like, hey, as consumers, if I don't like the taste,
Right.
like that's important feedback to get, right?
Huge.
So,
100%. Yeah.
I think the recipes were tweaked. When we first started, eating the habanero for the first time, which was really hot for some of us.
Yeah.
The cayenne evolved, and it's beautiful now.
Yeah.
And I think it was always beautiful to you before, but I think all of us have different.
We all have different
palates,
taste
right? So it was
palates for
interesting
sure.
kind of-
Yeah.
I think you were open-minded enough, which was good. to
Yeah,
kind of
absolutely.
go
And I
through it all
think
with us, right?
because it's such a personal thing, what I
Yeah.
do too, right? It's about the flavors that I enjoy, and so when you hear criticism, sometimes it doesn't go over well, but I'm definitely so open-minded
Yeah.
to that, because it's not just about me now. We're creating things for other people to enjoy, and to add to their dishes, to their meals, for their families,
Right.
So
But it's fun seeing, like when you're in the restaurant, I'm sure you go into the business partially, not just for a job, but it's like you enjoy making people happy.
Oh,
through food,
100%.
right?
That's
Like,
first and
there's
foremost
a really
for me.
great experience in
Yeah.
that, seeing people react to a flavor they've
Oh
never
my
had.
God,
for
100%,
sure, right?
man. And one thing I do at the restaurant too is just I have the opportunity to change my menus every day, right? So,
Right.
that's one thing that I really enjoy doing too, because it attracts people. It's
Right.
it's not the same mundane stuff all the time, and it allows me to be creative too, with to feeding people, and
Yeah.
again, for me, my biggest high is that reaction that I get,
Yeah.
right? And I know, and I am always open up to criticism,
Right.
because at the end of the day, it's about the guest, right?
I'm sure the Bird Brothers have criticized you
A few
every
times.
day
A
that
few
they're there,
times,
for
but
sure.
They're all right.
Big
They're
up,
all right.
big shout out to the Bird Brothers.
Yeah.
To that, he had a platform where he comes up with a new idea, and it's not bringing it to us like today. You kind of do that. Hey guys, I tried something new. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's still that, but there's an element of 150 people walking through his restaurant. That is, I tried something new. Hey, you guys want to try something? And his regulars, hey, try this.
Yeah.
So it's automatic feedback that
Yeah.
no different than the sauces we launched. It was 15 years that he's been putting it on his meals, that he's now come to the table with something. Guys, give this a shot.
Yeah.
So the tweaking there was minimal, because we've already experienced it through all his customers that he had at the restaurant. So
Right. John, since you're talking about it, I mean, tell a little bit about yourself.
well, I'm
Can we talk about your hair first, John?
yeah. How you doing?
How you doing,
How you doing?
bro?
So I'm Dean's younger brother. He thinks he's the better cook, but I kind of debate that. But he kind of growing up, like he said, like we've been surrounded by the restaurant business, for restaurants, banquet halls, we've been exposed to that. Even during school, we were working in the hotels and in the kitchen. So Dino kind of introduced me into that because I needed a job while we were in school, and gave me the opportunity to kind of work beside him and learn tips from him. And so it was great there. But at the same time, we just grew up in a family environment that food was a constant around the table. And that's from, we still try and keep those traditions alive today, like making the homemade sauce, or as we call it, the homemade sugo. We were making the homemade, sottochete, which is kind of your jarred condiments that we would put in there, from zucchini to the eggplants and that sort of thing. So today we still keep that alive. And, but again, I think I'm not a great chef, but I love cooking. I'm pretty much doing it 90% of the time at home. But it gives me the opportunity to kind of...
Susan's like, no, you're not.
I was just going to say something about Susan.
You remember when I made banana bread and I didn't put flour in it?
I made tomato sauce.
But shout out to her, because she's learned along the way, and she makes a great sugo today, right? So...
Does she call it sugo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does. She used to call it...
Does she pronounce it right?
She used to call it ragu. But,
Oh, God.
Yeah, but today it's
Was it a jar
it's
of
the
ragu,
sugo. Let's not go down that path. It's the homemade stuff today.
But you're into cooking as well, which is great.
Yeah.
And you've been around the restaurant business and banquet hall and cooking and like you said, family, a big part of it.
Yeah.
Food was always on the table in a traditional European family.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sure Nelson, exactly. And to yours is like, European families are always surrounded by food.
Yeah.
Great flavors, great foods. And it might just be just the mother that's cooking. That's it,
Yeah. And it could be simple dishes.
Yeah.
It's not a full blown out meal. It's a, spaghetti or linguine or with some meatballs.
Yeah.
And, fresh bread, or it's cheeses and charcuterie board.
But quality ingredients, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Quality
Absolutely.
ingredients, right? So it's great, and I've loved doing it, and still today I love doing it. And I call my brother once in a while, hey bro, hey
Bro.
How do I do this again, or how do I cook this? But it's awesome, and I love it.
That's awesome, man. Our only token pork chop in this company is Nelson. Nelson, tell us a bit about yourself.
So I was hired for affirmative action. They needed people to lift the boxes. Yeah, for me it's interesting because I've been lucky enough. Like I kind of grew up in corporate, kind of sales, marketing, ops type jobs with a lot of pretty decent sized brands in Canada. So there's a lot of structure and learning that I picked up along the way over the years. But on the flip side, I also in those roles worked a lot with entrepreneurs. So I had the fortune to work alongside of really great entrepreneurs. And I think I've always been just a chicken shit entrepreneur where I was like, I would love to be an entrepreneur, but like, how does that come to life? So I think for me, this is a really interesting moment where, you share the fear with 3 other people. It's a hell of a lot easier. And then on the food side, like I'm a food nerd forever. And like I grew up with, helping my grandmother cook in the kitchen. My dad was a butcher. I spent a lot of summers at my 2 uncles had a farm not too far from where we live now. And like up on Heritage and Financial area.
Yeah.
And,
That's
we
close.
would be like, picking vegetables. They would drop us off at the markets. I'm sure safety rules were really followed. And we're like on the back of a tractor, go along like, one of the side roads to be dropped off at a market to sell produce and whatnot. And, you just kind of, for us, it was always the same thing. Like, like immigrant families, we were always together. It was always around a table. Very different than now. Like it was very structured, the men ate first and then there was a kids table and the moms were all cooking together. So I love it, how it's evolved over time now. But being able to kind of marry the passion for food with my love of like business and marketing and sales is really neat to kind of bring that all together. Right. So
Awesome.
yeah.
That's good. I mean, I'm typically the same way. I mean, my name is Dave, and I'm the 4th of the forefathers here. And if we see our logo is actually the silhouette of us on our T-shirts and our sweaters. And there you can see there. So listen, I was brought up in a home where my mother did all the cooking. My father was obviously the breadwinner. He was a butcher by trade, so we had the best cuts of meats, and it was just amazing that I remember the Sundays, the lunchtimes where she would make the fresh pasta. She would do all the lunches, and that was the times where I would love to be at the tables where she just cooks up a storm for lunch. And to get into the entrepreneur stuff, I've always been, even when I was a kid, I would sell to make money. I was always trying to make money. I was always that little entrepreneur guy that says, hey, you know what, you got to buy this. Just give me $10, pay me tomorrow, whatever, but it's $10. I'm always that type of entrepreneur. And then I got into the auto mechanic industry and into the more of the entrepreneur. But my love for food, I didn't really get into cooking side of things. I just enjoyed eating it. I enjoyed the passion of any parents that love to cook. I love the whole aspect of you're putting all these ingredients together, simple ingredients or whatever it may be, and the flavor and the deliciousness that comes out of it. That's what intrigued me to say, fuck, I love this. This is amazing how people can do that. Like, you guys all are all cooks. You do the cooking, and it intrigues me to see how Nelson, how creative he is with certain ingredients. John, how he does this with this, and Dino, how he does that with this. And to me, I love that. So it inspires me. But to get back into it, I love the food. I love the whole entrepreneur style of it. I wasn't huge into marketing and the sales, but I just love to. I was executor. I would just say, you know what, I'm going to do this. I was like how Nelson was saying that, about being chicken shit entrepreneur. I was more of like, I would just jump in and do it. That's how I was, whether it's good or bad. That's just my personality of doing things.
It's like ready, fire, aim,
right? Boom, 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 boom.
Which is good, but I think that I think that you need that push and pull in a relationship, especially an entrepreneur relationship, where I may overthink some stuff where you want to go, and there's like this good balance, right? And I think sometimes it's just how do you massage it to a point where it's like, hey, it's the right amount on either side, because sometimes you just think you can think yourself to death or analyze it to death, and it's just like creates this paralysis where nothing's going to happen, right? So like it's a fine balance. Right?
Oh, yeah, we meet in the middle and we come up with things, just like all of us. We all talk about it. We all have our and people do talk about how do you guys make decisions and what happens when you guys don't make decisions, right? And easy enough, we are very communicative. We open, we talk about things. Sometimes we want to talk more about it. We should be more open about it, but that's just a growing part of our business. Yeah. But we always have a discussion, and we always come up with an answer, with a conclusion. We've always been like, hey, majority rules. If it's like 3-1, okay, you know what, we're going to go with that. Voting process, right?
I think we all have our eyes on the goal too, right? So we all know where we're coming from. So.
I think that's the piece, right? Like I think especially in a collaborative environment, if there isn't a goal. So I think once we first said, this is to help make delicious and healthy meals easy, then that becomes like, that's what we're doing.
Right.
Like, we're creating a sauce, blah, 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 but that's what we're trying to achieve. So if that's what we're trying to achieve, then it's easy to make decisions. Like, is this going to make the product better? Yes or no? Is it better for the customer? Yes or no? Is it better for the retailer? Yes or no? And if it's no, then why the hell are we doing it?
Well, why are we wasting time on it? Absolutely.
Yep.
And as we're building our business, we're building our brand, building brand awareness. It's difficult because we all have full-time jobs, right?
No, like it's hard to keep church and state separate, for sure.
Absolutely.
And I think the one thing that's interesting is when we did the pre-launch. For me, the pre-launch, because when we first started, it was like we didn't have customers. We just made sauce. Like, we made 4 sauces.
Right.
And there was this belief that it was going to be really good. But a lot of that belief came from friends and family tasting it. So in some cases, they're being respectful of our feelings. But we did the pre-launch, and we sold 763 jars in our pre-launch through e-com. And I remember vividly because we delivered a lot of them and whatnot. Yep. And at first I'm like, wait a minute, does anybody know this person? We're like, no. You start selling to people that we don't know. And then we're getting feedback from people that you don't know. Then it's like, okay, we have something here. That it's more than just our family being polite to us. This is something that could expand. And I think to your point, Dave, like the sales part, I think for me, I've been tried to be super specific about keeping things separate. So there's a lot of early mornings, a lot of late nights, which I'm good with. I probably drive Tracy crazy because we talk a lot about strategy while we're walking the dog at night, which for the most part, it's actually good just to kind of riff. And
sure,
she has a really good lens. She probably has more experience in this industry than any of us put together in kind of the food distribution side of things. But I know, like, I know the story you're talking about. Like, I was in northern BC, in Pemberton specifically, which is 17 kilometers north of Whistler. And I had a call with one of our major retailers that we were pitching. And I was going to a lunch. And I said, listen, I'm going to go and sit, our sales rep that was out there, I said, I'm going to go sit in your truck and take this call. And it was a video call. So like the coverage isn't great. And I'm sitting in his Ford F-150, and I was trying to be respectful of his gas and not turn on the AC and whatnot. So it was 40 degrees in the truck, like full on 40 degrees. And about 2 minutes in, the two people from the retailer were like, hey, you're like cutting in and out, because we were on a Teams call. And I'm like, why don't I just turn off the camera so that way the bandwidth is protected. But it was also great because I was sweating like a like a pig that's about to get slaughtered. And I'm in the car, like literally wiping the sweat off my brow. And I've now committed to this. Like I am wearing a dark shirt, which was good. And I look around his car, and John had a roll of paper towel. And I like rip open the friggin' bag of paper towel. I went through the whole bag of paper towel, like fully. He's like, what is that? I'm like, it was really hot in your truck. I probably should have just turned on the AC, but whatever. We landed the account, but it was like that day, I'm like, oh, okay, this is crazy town. I can't, Annie, I take my job really seriously. I want to do a really good job, but it's like for the benefit of our company, we need to go and find a broker or somebody to help, right? And then we were talking to Jim Marco for a little while, and I think that was, it sounded like a good idea. We worked with Rosie for a bit, which was great at the time. Stevie helped out, but it was like, how do we find something sustainable? So when we started interviewing brokers and landed with Adrian, where it was like somebody that would give a shit about our brand. Like, she's an extension of our team. She gives a shit about the brand. She treats it like it's her own. She has, several, but not a massive roster, but a good amount of roster. Nothing's competing, that she can put focus on it. So it's great now having somebody that when she wakes up in the morning, she's thinking about our sales from when she wakes up, which is really early. Because we're having calls like, I'm traveling out to BC. We're having calls like I'm in the lounge at Air Canada, and it's like 6 a.m. and I'm having a call with her, and she's like, yeah, totally good with it. She's super sweet, bro.
You sound exactly like her.
But she's like super sweet, but a bulldog at the same time. And I say that with a lot of love, right? Because she respects our brand. But it was really that moment as I went through a full roll of paper towel, and then had to go to lunch with these people, like soaking wet. I have the sweat catcher on. You can tell.
And most importantly, too, with her, she believes in our brand, right?
Yeah.
Which is key. I think, just finding a distributor just to find someone who can sell and deliver and that kind of stuff, that's not what we wanted either, right?
Yeah, for sure. And like, she tried the product. She didn't take the role until she tried the product.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's pretty paramount to her. Like, her give a shit factor is really high because of that. And the fact that she doesn't mind laughing with us in meetings and whatnot. So,
right.
But it's one of those things for like a brand starting up where it's kind of like that side hustle.
Right.
How do you go from making it feel like a side hustle, which is a really kind of cheesy word anyways, to like, no, we're running a company.
Right.
Just doing it in a way that we brought partnerships on to allow it to be sustainable because we're all working full time.
And the seriousness of it as well. Like, some people could say, whatever, just leave that spelling error or whatever. No, we treat this as a business. We are all about focusing on building and carrying this brand. Yeah. And speaking of brands, we and building our brand. We definitely, obviously as we're growing, we need assistance from other companies, right?
But on the, a big another focus of ours is driving brand awareness. And when we initially started, all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, all that kind of stuff, that we said, okay, that's an opportunity for us. And I remember, the four of us, we'd sit around and figure out what's content looked like. And I know, Dave, you're kind of from the social media side of it. So, we built, a website. We started building out platforms through Instagram and Facebook, where we were building out content and coming up with these ideas. But as the business started to grow, and again, managing, full-time work, late night grinds, figuring out what that's going to look like. I think we were doing it, but we got to a point where That was another opportunity for us to say, okay, now we need to really drive brand awareness, and what does that look like? How do we now start engaging our followers to a certain area? How do we now start bringing in, exposure through, we landed a couple of deals with BlogTO where we kind of got a write-up.
Six Buzz as well.
Six Buzz was another one. So that created opportunity to drive brand awareness. But we said, okay, now we're at a point where what's that look like at a next level where, we did our research, and we now, working with some marketing PR companies to kind of help drive that brand awareness, bring ideas to the platform, where now we're looking at other, platforms through media. We're looking at opportunities to, refine our website and, from the back end of it to drive brand awareness and now exposure, and growth through IG and Facebook. So, and now going from, more of the reels and bringing out our personalities and that sort of thing, that, going out and working with retailers and doing these events, people are really getting to know who we are. So, no different than what we're doing today. We really want people to know who we are, drive our story and that sort of thing, which is really, really helpful as well. So
there's behind the scenes that happen with us that, that we drive our engagement with collabs and that. And we're always learning. So we're grateful to have that backup to help us out in getting that going and maintaining it, and building content, because building content is what we need to focus on. The social media aspect of it is to have, hey, listen, what are we going to focus on now? What's coming up? What events are going to be? We talk about Valentine's, Super Bowl. We talk about big events and how we can utilize our sauce and how we can drive awareness to have that and collab together with that.
I think there's this perspective of like the side hustle culture, right? Like, you work 9 to 5, 5 to 9, but there's also like the massive burnout side of it.
Yeah.
I've felt it. And I think, as we continue to sort of focus in on it, it's like, hey, if we're bringing in partnerships that allow us to, have a bit more balance. Like, the whole balance thing is a tough one. It's all personal. But if it allows me to maybe sleep a bit better, go to the gym, spend more time with my family, and still invest time on things that I can do better than one of our partners could be.
Right.
That's good. Like, you think yesterday, like we're in Maple at the Maple Longlist, which was a great demo, right? Like, super fun, great staff. But like, I went to that store November 26th, kind of visiting stores, and I was devastated coming out of that store. It was 3 locations in a row. Longlist is going into their Christmas planning. We're not still planogrammed officially, so we're part of their seasonal set, and we're hustling to keep us on the shelf, and the guys have been really great. But they're also getting jammed for Christmas. They have all this planogram activity. I walk in that store. I walk the back with Rocco. I walked that store for a half an hour. I couldn't find our product. And then I finally found it sitting on the clearance rack, like as you went to the bathroom. And I was like I literally could have vomited on the floor. And he's like, well, I'm like, dude, that's wrong. I'm talking to the buyer about getting some ramp up for Super Bowl. And I'm like, all of our product has this big yellow ugly clearance sticker on it. So I speak to Diana. I'm like, Diana, number one, like, this is wrong. Right. She's like, hey, Nelson, I'm sorry. I go, listen, here's what we're going to do. Like, can you reorder? Because it's going to be part of your promotion in January. Can you reorder, please? Can we find a spot in the store to put this? We have this great displayer. I said, I'll bring it in next. Remember we dropped it off on the way up to the demo? And then here we are, call it just over a month later. Now we're back on shelf. The product's moving. We're doing a demo. But that moment was crushing.
Yeah.
But it was also really healthy, because if you didn't go there, you're like, oh, everything's fucking great at store. Well, it's not until you visit sometimes. And I think for us as a small brand, you forget that the retailer's job isn't to sell your product. The retailer's job is to run their business.
Right.
And running retail's hard.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And like, we have the privilege to get in, but I think it's that time. So as you say, as we have partners, it frees up our time to do stuff that we could do really well. Creating really cool content where we're spending time to do stuff like this, visiting stores, doing demos,
creating videos when we're there, pictures, that sort of stuff.
And those are all things that take time. And if you can do it where you have a bit of balance, you can spend time with your family and not feel completely burnt out and like tired of this. And I think the other thing that I struggle with sometimes is like, this all started with all of us being friends in the first place, right? And we got to know you over the process. But I know, I've been to your restaurant before and stuff like that. So I think it's also remembering that, hey, like, we need to figure out times to just hang.
Yeah.
And not friggin' talk about Forefathers or sauce or placement and manufacturer chargebacks and blah, 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 blah. Like, it's hard to turn it off, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's how do you find that balance to be able to have fun, not lose your mind with
Right.
it all.
And it's like our Montreal road trip. We just said, you know what? We just like escape, recharge, have some fun with us. If all four go to see a live band, drink and make fun of each other, and then big shout out to Shea Pico.
Yeah, JP and Val.
Yeah.
It was great because the weather was fantastic. We were outside doing sampling over there, and they're the only hot sauce company in
Like dedicated hot sauce store in Montreal.
in Montreal,
yeah.
right? Which they're on Hot Ones.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
It's bananas.
Awesome for them.
Yeah, it's been great. So yeah, like it does. It's difficult. We always we work full time. We run a business. We have a family. We have jobs. We have everything. But to come together as four of us, say, hey, let's just get away, and we come up with new ideas. We talk about, hey, you know what, this could be great. That gives us the opportunity. So I like that.
Yeah, like road trip.
Yeah.
Talking smack in the car the whole way, visiting stores along the way, like a great dinner in Old Montreal. Like Montreal is a great city anyway.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But like that dinner was just like, oh my God, like celebrating food in a really cool way, having live music.
Yeah. We also have behind the scenes, like, Tracy, your wife, she does a lot for us on the administration side of it.
Yeah.
And like you said, she probably knows the logistical business, that part of the business, more than we all do.
Yeah.
Right. And it makes a big difference for us that she can handle. She takes care of, whether it is the bullshit emails that come through to how to make the logistically happen for deliveries and this and that, right? Which is a big help.
Yep.
And she also works.
Yeah, she also works for me at the restaurant too, which is great too. And she does a great job, just keeping us all in check too, right? Keeping the business in check, and she does a great job. Absolutely great job.
Well, you said a good point. She keeps everybody in check.
In check, yeah.
Because we can also steer. We can steer in every direction,
Yeah.
but it's like, guys, no, fuck. This is what you got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, like you guys don't see this, but we'll be like walking Smitty at night. And I'm like, I got this idea. And then I'll be like, how's that going to happen? I'm like, wait, how is that possibly going to work? And I'm like, damn you, Tracy. Debbie Downer. She's like, I'm not a Debbie Downer. Like, I'm the one that's going to have to clean up this mess afterward.
Yeah, no, and again, she does a great job for me too. She's got a great personality. She meshes really well with the customers. The restaurant itself, I've been there, like I said, 15 just about 15 years now, and it's become almost like the second Cheers. It's like a family. We have a large group of people that come in, regular customers that come in too. So, and it just it's all about the experience, right? Yeah. It's about making people comfortable. My whole philosophy behind it is the experience before the food. The food just brings it maybe to the next level to bring them back again.
Of course. I mean, we almost did a hostile takeover of making a mercato out of your place.
Right? And you know what? She just adds to that too, right? She's got a great personality too. Yeah. She meshes in really well with the customers. She knows exactly what needs to be done. All in all, I mean, besides having, your takeout meals and everything, that you can pick up in the midst of COVID, had to be a little more creative and to keep the business afloat and keep it going. And it was a pretty rough time, but we did start like a little marketplace in the restaurant where I really have some fantastic, beautiful products from, some Wagyu steaks and lamb, and to very specialty items, on the shelf. Jarred, that kind of stuff, and available, for people to take home meals. That again, busy for everybody, right? So people want quality, people want value, and and we offer that right at the restaurant as well. So
plus catering and private events and stuff like that. That's a piece. Like the private events are kind of interesting, right? Because we've done a couple there.
Yep.
And having the ability to have a really intimate setting, great food in a restaurant where it's all like you've taken over the whole thing,
right?
I think that's a really nice platform for people to kind of.
And I think we want to still stretch out that and continue down those lines where we can have Forefather events at your cafe.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that those are fun things to do. Besides the business being fun, got to make money. That's the whole part of business. But but you have already a foundation that we could steer towards to make something else happen, right?
Yeah,
Which is great.
Yep.
You know, and you said COVID. You know, we launched at the heart of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yep.
stressful, but you look at the fact that they shut down the stores at that time that we said, okay, we got to launch it. We got to launch e-com. You know, we got to launch online. People are buying online.
Yep.
So let's go that route. And we had 763 pre-orders, December 16th.
Yep.
Okay. And it was friends and family, but also the network of our friends and family that branched out to create the 760 orders.
Yeah.
And remember their basement here. We're packaging them all up with, and our wives are involved, and a lot of wine was involved.
Yeah.
And
Tracy's like, you've done that wrong.
Yeah.
Stop. Carrie, go sit over there. You're in charge of pouring wine, not picking orders. Right?
But, you know, on a serious note, we hit our 2-mark in business, which is great.
Yeah, 2-year mark. Yeah.
2-year mark. And especially launching during the heart of the pandemic. So, you know, it came from a business plan to, you know, how do we get this to the product, to the consumers? And our big thing was we need to get this product in their mouths. We need to have them try it, taste it. And you mentioned about, you know, with Adrian that, you know, letting the retailers, most of the time it's like the sample packs go out and they try it and they love it. And that's what we wanted to, and that's why it's so important with these demos that we do. Yeah. That, you know, and you said you'd challenge anybody for sure. As a business owner, we need to be at these demos. Not a PR company unless you're massive, but I mean, whatever. It's great to see personability from us as owners, and we have fun with it. Like, you know, Nelson and John went to Maple yesterday on their sampling. And they're like, yeah, you know, we're 2 of the forefathers. The other 2 are at home sleeping. They're lazy. We can make fun of things like that. And people love seeing that. And they love our story. And especially the owners of the company being at these demos, displaying our product, showing our product, having them taste our product. And, like, it just drives sales, brand awareness. It drives people to say, I really love this, man. Yeah. This is awesome.
We also, like, I think for the most part, like, we're having fun, right? So, you know, like, the staff at that Maple store is great. You know, we were in front of the deli counter, so we were, you know, talking smack with them, and John's, you know, talking a lot of Italian that I didn't understand. So they could have been making fun of me. I'm not sure.
Yeah. You love his accent, though.
Yeah. Signora. No, but it's one of those things that, like, but demoing's hard too, right? Like, you have to be, like, mentally ready. Like, you're ready, you're on, you're engaging, and we're, like, asking, like, we're pulling everybody in, right?
Yeah.
It's draining, but it's a ton of fun as well, right?
Yeah. And I think if we look back to when we started to where we are today, and bringing in, you know, our broker and our marketing, and that now frees up hours of our time that we can dedicate towards the business and driving brand awareness. So the opportunity of doing these demos, and we've done quite a few of them, and it's great now that some of them we've gone back to those stores or they're new stores, and we've got customers coming in. And no different than when we were at the other one. We said, oh, hi. And, you know, you kind of get people to draw into your table. And they said, oh, no, I've got your product. And we've tried you guys were at Cheese Boutique.
Yeah,
and we're like,
yesterday,
and yet Cheese Boutique is downtown, right?
And you're up in Maple.
And we're up in Maple, and we've bought your product, and we love it. So those are those aha moments where, you know, you look back and you're trying to balance family and time, and you're exhausted and all that kind of stuff, but it's those little.
But at that moment, we were on.
And it's those little triggers that you're like, oh my god, like this is paying. It's a grind, but these are those aha moments that just kind of regenerate, re-energize you to say, man, I love this. So that I think that's great for us. That,
you know, to have our brand in the stores is amazing. You know, nationally, from BC to Halifax.
Yeah, like, you can find our product from as far west as Tofino, BC. So think like Vancouver Island on the Pacific Coast side. Yellowknife, Northwest Territories. Liverpool, BC, which is about an hour southeast of Halifax. It's bananas.
Right.
And we got to get a bit more in between all those points.
Right. Which we do.
Yeah, for sure. But I will tell you, like, there was and I think I shared this moment with you guys. In our first summer, I was out in Regina for work, and, you know, the day was done. I had a dinner meeting, and on the way to the dinner meeting, my rep and I said, hey, listen, do you mind if we pull into, it was like Dad's Organic, right? I said, hey, our product's there, and he's like, can I come in with you to the store? I'm like, sure. So I walked in, like we're literally, early for this dinner. So we walk in, and I asked the woman, this is like right in the heart of COVID, right? Everyone's got masks on and whatnot. And it's not like I'm wearing a FourFathers sweatshirt or something like we always do normally. And it's like, where's your hot sauce aisle? And she points to it. So I walk over and I'm like, oh my God, we're not on the shelf. Here we go. And then she goes, did you find what you're looking for? And I said, no, I'm actually looking for FourFathers. And she goes, oh my God, let me bring you over to our meat counter. We keep it by the meat because like customers love it. She goes, the jalapeno's to die for. And Paul's with me, and he's like giggling, like he's
and they have
so
no
excited.
idea that
No
you're
idea.
one of the partners.
And she goes, how do you know the brand? I'm like, oh, I'm one of the donkeys on the logo. And she was like, oh my God. And then Barry comes out, who's their in-house butcher.
Nice.
He's like, do you want to see where we keep our organic meat? I'm in the meat locker with him, and Megan comes over, who does their social
Love that
media.
shit. I love that.
And I'm trying to keep it all together, right?
Yeah.
And I leave the store, and Paul's like, that was fucking amazing. And I'm like, yeah, inside, I'm losing my marbles.
Of course, man.
And it was such a cool moment. Like, this is like Regina.
Yeah.
Like, it's nowhere near our house, right?
Yeah.
And just like randomly seeing the reaction that our brand can have with people was bananas.
Well, it's no different than like those small little retailers, the passion, the personability because of the individual owners of it. Like look at Molasana Bakery.
Yeah, like Milan, the son, and he's selling Michelle, right? Like, that story's hilarious. Like,
oh my God! Like Michelle, she was telling Michelle she went to Molasana Bakery and there was this gentleman.
Michelle is your wife. Obviously, people don't know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
She is the most patient woman.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's why I love her for that. So she went to go buy pizza dough from Molasana. So there was this gentleman there, and he wasn't even looking at the sauces. He was just getting some food. And the son Milan was behind the counter. He's like, "Have you tried a FourFathers sauce?" And he's like, "No." Was talking about this. You got to try that peri peri. And he's like, okay, that's not right. And he's hustling. And Michelle comes up and he's like trying to put the pitch on her. And she goes, oh, no. I'm just watching it. She goes, no. One of the FourFathers is my husband. And he goes, oh my God, it's not. And she's like, and she comes back and she's like, this guy hustled to sell the sauces. And they're one of our greatest, our best-selling retailers.
Yeah, him and Nadia are great.
Amazing.
And one of our originals, too.
Yeah.
One of the originals, which really you thought, we shouldn't,
Well, it was interesting, right? 'Cause it's a small local bakery,
a
right?
small local bakery. Nothing against them.
Great
It's a
product.
small bakery.
I was just nervous in the middle of COVID. They were struggling as well.
Right.
I'm like, is it the right fit? And that's part of the magic of this whole thing is you don't know, right? Like every store that you think may be perfect isn't, in stores that you're like, I'm not sure.
Right.
But for them, it was all about food.
Yes.
And they're like, Nadia and Milan are awesome. They support local. They're local. They appreciate the fact that it's us dropping off product.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And then like just before Christmas, after hearing that story, like we went in and we dropped off. I said, listen, I'm just coming in. I came in to pick up some bread. And I gave him one of our aprons, our branded apron, and he lost his shit. Yeah. Like he right away put it on, and like he was like, "Ma, you can't touch this." And you're like to me it was awesome, right? No. Where it's like as much as we talk about supporting local, like we're really lucky with having these like great retailers. Yeah. The big ones are great as well. Yeah. I'm not taking anything.
No, nothing against them for sure.
For like especially family-run businesses and some of the stuff they're doing, like Vincenzo's Market is so great. Mm-hmm. Cheese Boutique has been awesome to us, and that place is just such a great, what they've done for that community, their care about food. Like we're just lucky, I think, to kind of work with some of these stores, right?
Yeah.
But
I just find it too, like just from support. So we're talking about getting out there and visiting, like. As business owners, the feedback just from us doing, our store blitzes, just visiting, and it's crazy how it could be the small independents to, the national grocers that when we're in there and we're like, hey, we're, John and Nelson or the four of us are all together saying, we're just part of the FourFathers. We're just trying to come in, visiting the stores, getting feedback. What are your thoughts? Some of the responses are, you guys are the owners? And we're like, yeah.
Right.
As opposed to like, and their expression says it all. They're like, wow, it's rare that brands actually come out, the owners of the business that are coming out. So that's great. And then when we're doing these demos, there's there's actually legitimate people that stop and say they've tried our product, they love it, but they also say, so what's Fourfathers all about?
What's the story about?
What's the story about it?
Yep.
And they're legitimately listening to our story, and they're walking away saying, you know what, great, we love supporting local small brands like you guys, and good luck.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. To hey, we've had your product already, I'm here to rebuy, or not even trying it, they're just taking it because they've had it already and it's reorder. So those are those moments where, as a grind, as much of it is as a grind and balancing all that, it pays dividends to us as a business over the past 2 years.
But to your point about the story, I think every business that is trying to climb or build their brand have a story. There's got to be a story behind it, not just four of us got together and we're going to create this hot sauce and hopefully it does well. You can have a story about any product, about yourself, and I think that is what's really driving people to show and listen to our passionate side of us, is our stories, and our website
and why we're doing it
and why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, guys, I want to toast to the 2 years. Over 200 stores nationally.
Is this lactose free?
This we're using. We're gonna big shout out to the Wayne Gretzky, the maple cream whiskey.
And for people keeping score at home, it's 11:41.
Yeah, so it's 11 o'clock somewhere. So, guys, cheers to 2 years.
Salud.
That's really good.
That's delicious.
I may or may not have had some in my last cup of coffee.
Yes.
That's really good.
Don't judge.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, if Wayne Gretzky wants to send us a case, I'd be more than happy to. Here's my address.
We'll send them some hot sauce.
Hey, listen. We talk about being down in the wine district, the Niagara regions, and the wineries, the vineyards. Yeah. This plays a big part on our network. Like, even though that hot sauce business is a very saturated product and a business to be in, we thrive on great ideas that we come up with, and it's still untouched. I think there's a huge market for everything, from, because we are gluten-free certified and we're vegan friendly. We're all part of the communities that are that celiac and gluten. We're very passionate about that, and that's why our sauces are about that too. Not just saying it's a delicious sauce, you can use it on everything, which is great, but also the healthy aspect of it. Right?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is, and I think sometimes we struggle to articulate it well, but when we say to people in intercepts, like, hey, do you, hello, and then it's like, do you like hot sauce? Like, right away, there's some people are kind of polarized by it. They're like, oh, well, for them, hot sauce is like, it's what I put on my wings. It's really hot. I don't like it. But then it's like, no, like, we're a gourmet cooking sauce. So as you start to explain it, it's like, it's always like, how hot, what's your heat tolerance like? What's your flavor profile like? You kind of marry those two things together. Then as they're trying it, it's like, well, now imagine that in your guac. Right. You imagine that on your eggs. And like that one woman yesterday, like, I literally pulled out this video of like the last time I did a fried egg.
Yeah.
Where I cracked the egg into the hot sauce on a hot skillet, and it kind of cooks into the egg white, and that flavor permeates through. And I'm literally like, she's like, oh my god, that looks so good.
Yeah, I never thought of putting it on eggs.
Yeah,
it's so.
She's like, I did that yesterday.
She's like, I use my hot sauce on chicken wings. That's the only way she uses hot sauce. I was like, no, don't think of us as a hot sauce company.
Right.
We're like a gourmet cooking sauce.
Yeah.
I'm not. That kind of maybe rolls off the tongue a little bit, more challenging for people to understand what it is. But as you start to explain it, it's like, wait a minute. Then you can use as a marinade. I can do that.
Yeah.
I can put it in a recipe.
Yeah.
And you're like, Signore, in your sugo.
Yeah.
Do a little accent.
Yeah. Signor. I go. So I'll draw them in.
Pippa patata.
That's Nelly's got that down packed, right? And so and
my
it's,
voice has to hit like this really.
So as they're
vibrant,
trying it, you're putting these visuals in their head.
Yeah, of course.
Right, and depending on where we are, so like the Maple Italian area, that it was hard to draw some of the older nonna nonno in, or the zia and zios in, because they're so used to their own
Look at this
traditional.
Portuguese,
right?
Talk to me.
Right. So it was crazy, and then you're kind of putting those visuals like, aspetta, try pipa patata. Oh my god, see, like, so it's those moments that are awesome.
But that's the thing, our heritage, it adds that's what's great about a product, is that it's not just your typical hot sauce that you're going to put in and splash and dash. Is it splash and dash? No,
Or
burn
you
your
sprizzle. You can sprizzle on
The
it.
splash and dash is what you said.
Yeah,
splash and dash,
We're not our
and then,
splash
and
and
then or a sprizzle. We're gonna
Sprizzle
sprizzle.
and splash and dash is our favorite Dave.
Yes,
vocabulary.
we're gonna have different words that we're gonna have on our, and I'm gonna put that on the website with the meaning of it.
Sprizzle was the best.
Yeah.
I think.
Sprizzle.
Just look it up on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Sprizzle.
I never said
Look at-
sprizzle. No, you said sprizzle.
Yeah, you did.
No, I did. Yeah, you did. I look at the video. I said sprizzle. So that's a new word. We're actually we're gonna come up
There's
with
a sprizzle spoon coming out later in the.
Oh yeah, for sure. Listen, we want you guys to be part of our community that's out there. We have a ton of things that we want to give back to people when they sign up. Let's say you see the email address on our website. Give us a follow on Instagram and our social media, but as well as sign up for our newsletters on our website if you haven't already. Because we offer a ton of stuff. We get a ton of content exclusivity to contests. We're going to talk about discounts, promos, all that stuff. Even events at Dino's restaurant. There's a lot to give back, and for helping us out, we'll help you guys out too, and it really makes a big difference on growing our business. So be part of that. Help us out in our community by signing up. We're very proud of our product lineup and how we help you create delicious and healthy meals easy, and that's what we want to focus on, is making that happen. Right.
Great recipes online as well too. Right.
Thank you, Dino.
website.
Ton of recipes online. And we are going to we would like to let you guys know that we are coming up with such great ideas for 2023. We're gonna launch our merch products. So we're gonna have hats, shirts, sweaters, hoodies, pullovers. We're gonna have a ton of merch you guys can buy online. So we're gonna release that very soon. We talk about, we listen to you guys as consumers out there about, the usage of our sauces and how convenient it can be, or inconvenient it can be, good or bad, taking the spoon. And we did talk about at the beginning about the spoonable. That's why we went with the smaller jar, because it's great with the spoon. You can spoon it in, pour it in, spoon it to your meal. And we talk about this, and Nelson, you can chime in more about the fact that people have been talking about, hey, listen, what about doing this?
Yeah, like the reality is, like, the first two sauces, like the cayenne and the jalapeno, had to be in a spoonable jar.
Yeah.
And the nature of what they were intended to kind of come out as, right? But I think, yourself and Katie on the production side have done a really good job making sure the consistency has really rich texture. Mm-hmm. But pours really well. Mm-hmm. So we've now changed the way we've demoed, right? Like we're demoing using the squeeze bottle, just makes it easier to kind of dispense it. And I think the first time we tried that, we're like, oh wow, this actually works really, really well.
Yep.
So looking at, having more consistency in the jars, making them pourable, it certainly is going to help out from a supply chain perspective. Glass, it's crazy. The whole supply chain reality is nuts to me. Like how things have become so difficult to get. So getting, a jar that's more consistent, but at the same time, it's going to be better for customers. Like we had that one lady yesterday who was great. She's like, super sweet, loved the product. She's like, I'm in marketing, and just FYI, I would use your product more if I could pour it. If it was like that one there, she was pointing to the piri, and you're like, okay, like there's enough people that are kind of talking about
Absolutely.
that.
Yep.
So I think that makes a lot of sense. But ultimately, as much as it's going to hopefully allow us to be more consistent with production and availability of the glass, it's also going to make the usage of the product way better for people.
Right. Yeah.
And I think just people will understand how to use it better. And the texture is still awesome. It pours really, really well.
Yep.
It's just that much easier to use, right? So I think it makes a lot of sense.
For sure.
Absolutely. And that's those are the things that we're going to be coming up with, that we listen to you, or we're just trying to make things more efficient, more better for our business brand as we're growing. So these type of powwows and these type of things that we talk about makes a big difference for our future. Today's podcast is gonna be more of a recap, informative, have a little fun and it show what we're all about too. But moving down the line. I mean, we don't have a set schedule or podcast to me, but we want to show you guys the fact that we have amazing guests that are coming on board, that we're going to have cooking shows, episodes about quick and easy meals, using like how to make this meal. We got 4 ingredients. You got 30 minutes, how to make an amazing meal. Those are the things that everybody wants to see on a busy weekday, weeknight. And so we're going to try to focus on updates, things we're doing, great shows. So it may not be weekly, but look out for us, guys. We're going to be, we're posting a lot on our social media. And, it's been great talking with, gathering us all together. Instead of just talking about solely just business, our business meetings, we can talk about everything from family to wherever, vacationing to whatever it's going to be, and that's what we like as a company here, as friends. We can talk as friends, not just as business partners all the time.
Yeah, I think I can chime in on your point on content. I think the one thing that, as we've talked about, and it's kind of a bit of a challenge to Dino, is I find it interesting sometimes when people are like, I don't know how to use it. Mm-hmm. But, when cooking comes easy to you, sometimes you forget that, right? So I think having content that's more specific to how to use the product, how to think differently about hot sauces, more of a gourmet cooking sauce, how to create recipes that are more realistic for during the day when things are busy. So it's like, to your point, like 4 ingredients, 30 minutes. Right. And then there'll be recipes where it's like, hey, Friday night, pour a bottle of wine. Right. Saturday night, pour a bottle of wine. Absolutely. Hang out. Those are the menus that, you don't make a risotto, before taking your kid to a hockey game on a Wednesday night. You have a half an hour. Like, that's not going to happen. Right. But on a Saturday night, when you can cook and spend time sitting around,
some
your
music
kitchen.
On,
I think that's great.
Absolutely.
And the other thing that it was funny this week, talking to one of our retailers, Terry from Hiram Street Market up in Bracebridge, and she's like, oh my gosh, she's texting me and she's like, we tried the zucchini curry. It was unreal with the habanero. Yep. And she's like, I want to start talking about that at the store. And I'm like, man, as we start to think about the demos we do, right? And it's like, where do you live if you don't come to this store? Well, we live in Port Perry. Have you been to the Trading Post? Because we're there. And have you had their corned beef sandwich? They make this great corned beef. Right. So the ability of talking about these great retailers we have in different communities, I think that's a really cool thing. And it's more of a challenge to you, Dino, to be able to have those recipes that are maybe more realistic to that weeknight.
Absolutely, and that's
weekends.
That's the most important thing too. Yeah. Making people comfortable with the recipes that we're putting on our website too. Yeah. People don't want to be overwhelmed and with so many different ingredients. It's something simple, something that they may or may not have in their fridges, but that they can substitute with. Right, that's the whole premise behind most of the recipes that we have there. And then there's going to be those ones that are a little bit have more time, a little more complicated, whatever. And then also showing the versatility of the sauces that our hot sauces that you use within the recipe itself. Right, just expanding their horizons. That's it, right?
I think the one that we haven't talked about that we're pretty lucky is the ambassadors we're working with, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think we have some really cool ambassadors that we're just starting to profile now,
right?
That all have a passion for food, and whether it's Mitch Dutchy Cooks, who's he's a brilliant photographer, but the dishes he makes on his grill is unreal. Mm-hmm. And Diary of a Home Chef, like some of the stuff that he'll start doing. Emily Eats, a student at Guelph, her rethinking her products. It would be interesting to kind of start showcasing people that love food just as much as us, using our product, and let them kind of think about it differently, right? So that's another piece that hopefully really kind of takes hold. Right?
And that also, again, those are like our brand ambassadors. They're really focusing on showcasing their product, their foods with our product, and we haven't really touched on that, which that'll be another topic to talk about. But lastly, I want to just challenge you guys and say, hey, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years, being part of this company? Mm-hmm. Nelson, where do you see yourself in let's say in 3 years? Where do you see yourself?
Geez, I don't know what the timeline is. I can tell you pretty vividly, like what I would love to see us
in the future.
In the future,
right? For sure.
Like I think and I'll be brief because I talk too much, but I think that there's a really cool local connection, right? And for me, I think that there's an opportunity for us to get to a point where we have a physical presence, where you can go to Fourfathers, to pick up your sauce, to pick up stuff that's unique, that's not on the market, maybe stuff that's part of our mercato that adds to your pantry, partnering with local breweries to do like pairings. I think there's an opportunity to do like learning sessions and creating kind of this hub in the community. Plus, producing our sauce, etc. And I think if in 5 years from now, I'm waking up in the morning and going to the Fourfathers
office
store.
Sure.
Office space in the back, production in the back, and we're that night hosting an event on how to cook, risotto with Chef Dino, and we're pairing red wine with it. Like I would be like I would lose my marbles. If that, I think that's for me, the goal is how does this become this physical, community connected space?
Right. Yeah, and to add to that, I mean, it's that kind of that storefront, but getting to a place where, we've grown our brand, our focus and energy, by working with our partners to free up our time to get out there, to now say, we've got our own kind of, we talked about that storefront, but yet the production piece of it that's in the back that potentially is to produce our own product, but then potentially like, that was one of our challenges when we started our business. Like, who's going to take on a small brand to produce our product for us, right?
Yeah, before we had one listing with everybody, right?
Right. And they're already saying, well, we need X amount in volume. Or we're like, okay, that's a future state, but right now we need something. So a way of giving back, knowing the challenges as a small startup that we've gone through, to be able to potentially, if it's, produce our own product, and yet bring in smaller companies to help them with that, right? So to add on top of that, so
that's what you want to see.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for us, and it's a grind, but again, it's a passion of all of ours, which is why we're doing this today, right?
Yeah. For myself, I think going back to the beginning, I think we all have, the four of us have a niche in this business that we've created. And again, coming back to myself, it's all about the creative side of it, right? I just absolutely love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. I love the products that I've created, and I love the reaction that I get from it too. Ideally, that's exactly it. My passion, my ideal would be to have the opportunity to produce our own, to create different things as well. And I'm sure how many times you guys are here, guys, try this, try this,
sure.
right? And that's just my passion, right? That's what I love to do. To do that every day.
I can sense the passion in your in your passionate message.
You said passion 90 times.
Yeah.
Listen, I totally get it. And then we all fall in the same our future, and we actually don't talk about it. This is not scripted where we said we're going to talk about this where our 5-year plan or whatever the future is. We all have a similarity of what we want to be and what we want to do in the future. I'm the same way. I would love to wake up in the morning and we go to our Fourfathers Mercado, but our store, our office, the background, because I'm a music guy, I'm a DJ. I would love it. Nothing but love the fact that we can host an event at Dino's at the Mercado. I'm playing music in the background. Nelson's serving crazy beers from local breweries. Having fun doing it. John's greeting people, talking. Dino's cooking up a store. I'm in front of people. I would love nothing more to see that happen on event nights. And the fact that we can make this happen. But our product is our bread and butter. That we introduce some new lines of products. That's what I'm mainly would like to see as well. The fact is that how about branching off to the U.S. Things like that. We are with Amazon, which we're trying to refine a bit more, but to have a product in the U.S. in different stores in the U.S. And as well as people just loving our product and sending us amazing feedback, because it's nothing but you guys that are driving our business with great feedback, whether it's on Google reviews, or in person, the demos with the people saying, my God, I love this shit. This is amazing stuff. Right. And like no different than what you guys had yesterday. You had someone walk up to you, and and said, "Oh, I make my own hot sauce."
Yeah, it was hilarious because like he knew his hot sauce.
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I do. I focus more on habanero. It's the right level of heat. I do my own." And we're like, "Yeah, it's cool. Like, just give us a try."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Holy, like this is really good." And he bought and left with his daughter. And then they showed up like 2 hours later. He's like, he dropped off 2 sauces that he had made.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I would
man.
love your feedback on
Yeah.
this.
Love it.
And he goes, "Hey, no disrespect to you guys. I love your product. But here's mine."
Oh, I
It's cool,
love
man.
it.
It's kind of like people that
Yeah.
are just passionate about food. Which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
really neat,
Absolutely,
right? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Guys, I mean, it's been awesome talking about it, giving a recap, sharing to you what we have coming up. Above the screen, you're going to see where you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and on our YouTube channel, which we want you guys to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give us all give you all the updates and alerts of what we're when we go live or we do some video podcasting. Listen, subscribe to our channel, youtube.com/FourFathersFoodCo. All the links are above. We are on Spotify if you don't want to watch us on YouTube. Spotify, Apple Podcast. We are on Google Podcasts. We're going to be on Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. Make sure you get the apps for that, or wherever your favorite podcasts are playing. We are going to be on there. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Kitchen Mix Podcast. And at the end of each episode, we're going to post up a recipe that Dino's going to be that'll have special for you guys, as well as I'll have a download link of a music set that I like to play some music, so I'll have like an hour set you guys can download. Guys, thank you so much for being here.
Stevie?
And it's we winged it. We made it happen. We had some fun doing it, and hopefully you guys had some fun watching us and hearing us about our business and our journey. So thanks so much, guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.